So we have to do AM Talk, and we have some invited guests in the studio. John KUMA regularly or sparsely come to the show as well, but we all know he's a legal practitioner as well, member of the MPP. Thanks for joining me, John.
Thank you, my brother. We'll
be joined by Abraham Maleba, another legal practitioner, member of the NDC's legal team, also member of the NDC entirely. I mean, if you're a member of the NDC's legal team, presupposes that you're... Okay, so we have a couple of the messages here, but let's pick your thoughts, and we have to start with the main issues. The thing is that we have the Attorney General praying the court to examine Woyome over judgment debts, and apparently the AG has filed a suit praying the court to orally examine Alfred Agbesi Woyome over the controversial judgment debt saga. And I'm presupposing that you've followed the story.
Yes, I have.
What predominantly does it mean? I mean, if we have to succinctly...
Yes. Once you secure a judgment, you have to go through execution processes in order to recover the fruits of your judgment. And what this means is that the AG has tried, first of all, you have to try to attach the movable properties of the judgment debtor. And then if you cannot get it, like maybe attaching his bank accounts through a guarantee order, and maybe they've gone through all that processes and realized that there's no money sitting in the account, so they cannot go for his bank account. And then when all the movable properties have been attached and it cannot still satisfy the judgment debt, then obviously you have to then move for FIFE to attach the immovable properties like his houses and lands and other properties that he has, so that you can sell to pay for the debt. Unfortunately, it appears that the attempts by the Attorney General to attach the said properties of the judgment debtor, in this case Alfred Agbesi Woyome, is becoming difficult. They are unable to identify those properties because perhaps he did not do them in his name, or maybe he acquired them in other people's names. So what the AG is seeking to do is to put him in the dock and get him to swear before the court. And then he will be examined on what kind of properties he has, where are they located. And because he's under oath, if he lies, it will constitute perjury. So it will be deemed that whatever information is given to the court is the right information to enable the Attorney General to recover the judgment debt that he owes to the state. So that's basically the procedure. They are trying to reach to some of his properties so that they can attach them in lieu of the debt to the state.
But practically, how is it impossible to, want to retrieve a certain amount of money from somebody due to the unprocedural nature of the payment that was made, and then you can identify the property which would need to be sold or auctioned for those payments?
That is the whole thing. You see, the judgment will give you the order for the payment.
Yeah.
Now that recovery has to go through another legal process called the execution. Now you must identify, in Ghana, you cannot take somebody to jail because he owes a debt. It has been repealed from our law. So the only thing you can do is to sell his property to pay for the debt, or to attach, if you know he has some investment somewhere, or he has some kind of money sitting in some account. So when all those processes have failed, and maybe they've gone into his account, they didn't find any money. They have tried to locate his houses, they can't find those houses. So the only obvious steps is to invite him to the court, put him under oath, and then ask him, where are your properties? Or what properties do you have? And then he'll be compelled by the law to tell the court what properties he has in his life, in his name. And then once those properties have been identified, then the AG will take the next step to attach those properties and sell them. And then whatever monies are recovered will be paid to the state. So that is what they are trying to do. I mean, they are facing difficulties in terms of identifying what houses or lands belong to Alfred Agbesi Woyome. And so they need him to confess to the court or show the court what he has and where they are located, so that the AG can take the necessary steps to sell those properties.
If they are not able to get access to any of the property or monies, whether they're in the bank or somewhere, what happens? It means the debt is...
Yes, then it's a useless judgment. So in so many cases, you can have judgment you can't enforce. And this may turn out to be one. If he doesn't have any property that you can sell to settle the debt, that is why it is not good to chase a man of straw in court. If you have judgment against me to pay you $10 million and you know I don't have $10 million, you must as well not have wasted your money going to court because you have compounded your problems. You know, so that is the dead end of the case. If eventually it turns out that he has no property to be sold, then we have come to the end of the road.
So you're saying the Attorney General perhaps is taking this action but still clutching on straws?
Exactly. I mean, once he's only doing this in anticipation that the man has a property hidden somewhere that they don't know. And they are hoping that by this process, they can find out which properties he has. But if it turns out that he doesn't have any of such properties, then we are at the dead end of this case. It means that the monies cannot be recovered to the state.
I see.
That's what it means.
Do people practically, especially let's say elite, if we have other stories or other cases in our jurisdiction, just wire their life and systems in such a way that they are very evasive?
Exactly. I mean, it's all over the world.
Yes.
Okay. I've heard Trump evading tax for 20 years.
Yeah, he says he uses the law.
Well, so
he said he uses the law.
So in a similar vein, I can acquire property in your name, even though it's for me. And once the deed or the document comes and it shows that it is not my name on it, then the presumption is that I'm not the owner. You have to go beyond that to prove that I'm the owner. And where there is no evidence to prove that I'm the owner, and a third party has his name on the document, he claims ownership of it, then it means you don't have access to the property to sell. So when people are very crafty, and remember, you may use the courts from the word go to have this money illegally paid to him, or you can't even say illegally, but irregularly paid to him. I think that's the word, because he used the courts. So I believe right from the word go, he had his lawyers to advise him on how even acquiring a property out of that proceed should be done. And once you are not able to trace it directly to him, it becomes extremely, extremely difficult to recover such funds. So it's a sad situation. It's very unfortunate, but of course, he did it with the system. And I mean, even where the court said don't pay, they went ahead to pay. And if you look at the procedure and everything, you can see, I mean, it's clear that there was official complicity in the whole process, and it makes it extremely difficult. I believe because we are getting close to the elections, the government wants to be seen to be doing something. They know that eventually they are actually not going to get anything from Woyome. But
you also believe, by your experience, that...
yeah, it's possible. I mean, if you are not able to find any house that he owes, and he comes into the dock and says, I don't have any house, what are you going to do? Maybe.
Well, we have Charles from Ebrim who says the government should take that money from Woyome. It's Ghana's money. Okay.
It's all covered. I mean, clearly, it's all a charade to create the impression that people must be seen that, I mean, the impression should be created that government is attempting to recover the funds.
That's on the political side.
On the
first one, I mean, we're making a legal comment. The political side of it. But we started hearing this some few days ago, I think from Monday, that apparently Ghana still imported power from La Côte d'Ivoire. And we're told, according to the investigation, it's because relatively it's cheaper to import the power because the cost of power production in Côte d'Ivoire is cheaper.
I disagree.
And they said we're importing 185 megawatts of power from Côte d'Ivoire, while thermal plants in Ghana were idle. According to the electricity sector players, Côte d'Ivoire generates thermal plants at a cost of 9 cents per kilowatt hours and sells it to Ghana for 11 cents, while the thermal plants in Ghana sell their power from 14 cents and above.
You see, it's very unfortunate that we have such an incompetent government who has put us in such a mess, especially when it comes to the energy sector. I mean, it's such a mess, it's not funny. You know, the issue of this Cote d'Ivoire generation, it's a fact that Cote d'Ivoire generates at 9 cents and sell at 11. So if you are looking at the raw data in terms of the price, the cost, which we sell at 14 cents, then obviously, I mean, from the face value, it's easy to conclude that it's cheaper to buy from Cote d'Ivoire. But the reality is that we also have some transactional arrangements with Ameri and all those plants that we have imported into this country. And in those contracts, whether we produce or we don't produce, we still have to pay the Ameri people or the Turkish or the whatever company brought those plants. So when you add your cost of non-use, because whether you use or you don't use, you are still paying for it. So when you import from Cote d'Ivoire at the cost of 11 cents, and you add the cost of your non-use of Ameri plant or whatever those crude plants provide for Ghana, then you are coming back to the same cost of 14 cents or even more. You understand? So you ask yourself, why are we in this quagmire? Why are we in this difficult situation? Because of the incompetence of President Mahama. I mean, he told us he was going to fix Dumso. How do you fix Dumso? By importing emergency plant. The word emergency should tell you it's not something permanent. And you can't use emergency plant to fix a problem. It can only give you a respite in a temporary or a short-term scenario. But unfortunately, we are told that he has fixed Dumso by importing an emergency plan. That's a clearly incompetent government. So we are in this difficult situation, and more so even the cost of the importation. Something that costs $210 million. I mean, the open market on the world market has been sold to Ghana for $560 million. So, and even if you look at the cost build-up over the 10-year period that they are talking about build, operate, and transfer, we are going to pay over $2 billion over the period. Whether we use the plant or we don't use it, we are still paying. That's what I'm complaining about. If you are buying crude from Cote d'Ivoire at 11 cents instead of 14, and you are still paying for your non-use of the plant, you cannot say that you are buying at cheap price, because there's still some cost that we call it fixed cost.
So it means that the cost of generation is not cheap at all still?
It's not cheaper.
All right. We have on the line Kojo Poku. Kojo Poku, a very good morning to you. You're an energy expert.
Yeah, good morning, and good morning to your listeners.
How can you explain this to my feeble mind for me? We're importing power from Cote d'Ivoire. The excuse is that it's cheaper to generate there. And then ours is from 14 cents upwards, etc. Is that what is pertaining currently?
Well, from the news coming out, yes. And some of us have been looking on this situation with amazement for some time, because we have known that the generating capacity we have in the country is very low. So in an effort to give a seemingly solution to a problem that's been with us for 4 years, they've resorted to importing the electricity to give us a seemingly solution. But then some of the things that some of us have said is that if you have a problem and you are not clean with the problem and you keep sweeping it under the carpet, one day the dirt under the carpet is going to be so full that you have no option but to take off the carpet, and then it's going to hit you hard, the amount of dirt you have under the carpet.
What do you mean?
Why do I say this? We are in election year, and it looks like the government wants to do all that it can to make Ghanaians feel that the problem which is still there is no more. Only for us as a country will be hit hard with this situation in 2017, because importing from Cote d'Ivoire, buying expensive crude oil, and doing all that we can to make sure that Ghanaians sleep in light in this year is going to come back to hit us in 2017. So we've known of this, and I mean, because when you go to the generation calculator on the GRIDCO website, it tells you that we are still producing, or we are still generating below what we're supposed to be generating as a country. But we all see that the lights are mostly on. that means that the government is basically doing what we've now got to know of importing and, taking light in certain areas which does not really matter. Because if you take light somewhere in other regions and somewhere in other, Accra and Kumasi is where people talk a lot. So you can take light in certain areas at certain time. They are doing all sorts of manipulation to make sure that the light stays on, seemingly stays on. Okay. And some of us have said that, look, if you do not fix this problem, it's going to come back to hit us, and it will come back to hit us hard.
I know that you have worked in the various sectors of the industry, whether upstream, downstream, etc. And you look at the current state in which it is, it means you are suggesting it is fake or just imaginable, a situation.
No, I wouldn't say it's fake. It's being managed. When something is being managed, when someone says they are managing it. Now, managing it in what term, short term or medium term, is the problem. I mean, instead of being fixed, it is being managed. And what Ghana needs is a fix, not a manage, not it to be managed. We have a fuel problem, and we are all aware that we still don't have gas coming from the West African gas pipeline. So it means that most of the plants that use gas are now who can now do dual combustion, are using light crude oil instead of gas. Because the crude oil price is stable below $50 now, it's sort of okay to use light crude oil because in effect, it is not as expensive as it was to be in the hundreds. The HFO, which is being used by the lack of car power, is now very cheaper. So car power is now even the cheapest in the country as compared to the gas, okay? Now, you have scenarios where Akosombo is not as high because we keep draining the water and we are not basically managing the water in there because, like I said, we need the lights to be on in the election year. So that is what's compounding the problem. But in terms of why are we importing from Cote d'Ivoire, I have no idea. We used to be able to sell to Cote d'Ivoire much cheaper 10 years ago. Now we are saying that Cote d'Ivoire is cheaper. Since when? Because I remember very well that Ghana supplies electricity to Cote d'Ivoire. But all of a sudden, because of the way we negotiate some of our deals, can you imagine that the contract that was signed for the production of gas in the ENI project, the gas coming from there for us to produce local generation of electricity is more expensive than the gas coming from the West African gas pipeline. And when some of us said it, it was like, and they made so much noise and brushed it under the carpet again as if it was a political talk. But it's not. Recently, I've heard that they've been asked to go back and renegotiate the gas deal on the ENI project. Some of these things is due to how people are just being selfish in how they negotiate some of these deals. And that is the bottom line.
Let me ask you a last question. I don't know what really your difficulty is. If Cote d'Ivoire is the cheapest, why not? Is it not the mechanics and the financial cost of it and how it makes sense to create value financially as far as in the management of the energy sector is concerned?
But how did Cote d'Ivoire become cheaper? That's the question. How did Cote d'Ivoire become cheaper? They are producing from hydro, and they are producing from all the generators that they have. How are they cheaper? Cote d'Ivoire is not doing anything that we are not doing. So ask yourself, how did Cote d'Ivoire become cheaper? It's because Cote d'Ivoire now is basically doing certain things right, and we are not.
Well, true, but if you look at the coverage of electricity for the whole population of Cote d'Ivoire, is not the same like Ghana. Ghana is in excess of over 80% of the population, and Cote d'Ivoire is hovering around half that number. It really practically would not be a comparable scenario, would it be, Mr. Kojo-Poku?
But my brother, do you know that 10 years ago we were exporting electricity to Cote d'Ivoire?
Well, true. 10 years ago we were exporting because we had more than enough and the demands were not. Just walk around Accra, so you see the high-rise buildings. Everybody is in air conditioning.
If Cote d'Ivoire was cheaper, how are you doing that? Because are you telling that Cote d'Ivoire was buying fuel from you at a much expensive price? They were not.
Well, true.
Because of the inputs that we've introduced into our generation mix, now our generation mix is more expensive. See, look, Akosombo comes in at 3 cents, okay? So if Akosombo is generating, then yes, you have 3 cents from Akosombo, that one you can do whatever you want with it. But because we are now introducing a very expensive mix, this is like crude oil. If we use crude oil, we are talking about 28 to 30 cents per kilowatt hour if we use light crude oil. So yes, it will be cheaper to bring in from Akosombo than to burn light crude oil. So that I agree. But my point is that why are we doing some of these things instead of addressing the problem that we have? Because if you are saying that, okay, I'm not going to save money and pay my debt to Nigeria and gas. Okay, but instead of me to find money and pay end gas so that I get gas to the Western gas pipeline, I'm going to now rely on importation from Nigeria. Is that prudent? It's not.
Well, thank you very much, Kojo Poku, giving us a perspective. He's an energy expert, has worked in the up and downstream of the industry. We've interviewed him a couple of times. But we've also been joined by Abraham Maliba. He's a legal practitioner, member of the NDC's legal team. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And just add your own thoughts on the subject of us importing energy from La Côte d'Ivoire. It just sounds a bit unthinkable on the surface.
What is unthinkable about it? They have also bought from us, we've bought from them. We have this agreement with them. Our systems have been tied to each other, you know. Our electricity connectivity has been tied to each other. So sometimes they give us and we give them. So what is unthinkable about this? You made a point, and I think that is where the crux of the matter is. Coverage of electricity in Côte d'Ivoire is not even up to 50%. Coverage is just within Abidjan, Yamoussoukro, the big towns. But as you traverse into the hinterlands, there's no electricity there. But you can agree with me that as we sit here, in some parts of this country where you don't expect that you have electricity, we have connectivity there. Hitherto, yes, largely we're exporting to them. But they have also decided to put in place their own system. But their system is like when we also had our system at the time from KUMA, where it was so much and we had to export because we hadn't yet sent electricity to the north. You remember that time? Because the consumption was small and generation was large. Today too, they also have their system, but theirs too is just like the days of Nkrumah, where their consumption is small, but they have. So if we are buying from them, it's not new. We envisage it. The two countries envisage that. That's why we connected our systems together.
Our grids together.
Yeah,
we have our grids also connected to Togo.
So it is something that the two countries have envisaged, not today, long ago.
Okay.
Even at the time that Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire were not best of friends, because Yadima, what's his name? Their old man was Ofebuahin was somehow towards the Americans.
But the critics say, and even corroborated by Kojo Poku, the energy expert we just spoke to. Yeah. This one is just a mirage. You're just trying to put on a certain facade.
And that is the point.
A certain sharing.
I heard him make the point that for election year,
yeah,
we are providing energy to resolve our instant problems. Governance does not start and end on election days. Governance continues even with or without election. This is the time that we were able to fix the issue. We were able to get the required resources, the required manpower, whatever it is, to bring in this energy. So be it. It is not to say that some people somewhere sat at the Flagstaff House and then drew up a plan and said that let's just buy energy for the election, and then after election we'll go back. No sensible government will do that. We are not insensitive.
Mr. Abraham Maliba,
we are not insensitive.
Doesn't it make sense that because I want to look good before the markets I want to go to, I want to make sure my product is well packaged? And I'm talking about you trying to create a certain good scenario for government.
And I'm saying that the people at the helm of affairs are not so warped in their thinking to think that way in the issue of, because President John Mahama's family also bear the brunt of such a poor decision. His children also bear the brunt. His relatives also bear the brunt. So President Mahama will not sit in the flag server, bring the vice president and all and say that let's just put the energy to just solve during election. Then after that we'll go back. They won't do that.
Okay. All right. Let's look at there's a story. It's on my Joe Online. A couple of the online portals have picked it up. The president's brother apparently visited some areas, I believe in Mamobi, Nima, those areas, and was having military escort. It raised questions, especially among governance experts, but also members of some political parties and all. The Ghana Armed Forces has come forward and said it's commencing investigations as to how he got military escorts on many of the activities or rounds that he was doing. Your comments on the subject? Yes,
President Mahama is clearly not demonstrating, he's not only demonstrating incompetence and insensitivity.
Why?
He's also abusing his office, and not him alone, with his family. I mean, if you look at why a private citizen, a businessman who has no position in government, will have to be escorted on his private health walk. And we are told, per the report, that he actually arrived on the scene in an military armored car, accompanied by military officers, fully armed to the teeth. And you wonder, how did we get here? I mean, the only thing you can say about Ibrahim Mahama and his relevance to the national cause is the fact that he's a brother to the president. Why should he be giving all these military escorts? And I've watched the video. Heavily built military personnel guiding him and providing. I don't know whether he was going to war. I mean, it was just a health walk that you are even supposed to invite ordinary citizens to be there. And the display of force, you know. So clearly, President Mahama and his family, I mean, we have always, in fact, even within the NDC, if you ask Mr. Abangbagwen or Honorable Abangbagwen, he has always maintained that President Mahama's government is for friends and family. And clearly, this also attests to the fact that, I mean, whilst we are struggling, I mean, families of the president are living like kings. You understand? We already have a history where equipments that were imported for the local government ministry to be used by the various assemblies and municipal assemblies were given out to him in the name of dredging Odo River. Eventually, we were told that millions and millions of cedis were paid to his company. So the abuse of office, the abuse of incumbency, and the excess display of power by the president and his family is indeed a cause for concern for all of us. And I think that if the military have started any form of investigation into this matter, we want to see the end, or we want to see the end of that investigation and what becomes of it. It should not be because it is the president and his brother, they can have their way and use the military anyhow. In fact, it creates indiscipline and disorder even in the military. Some of these things can create chaos for the country because it has national security implications for all of us. Because it's not everybody in the military who support the president. So if we can have a situation where the president brother can just abuse the military and its equipments, then it's not a good sign for the country. And I think we must see the end of the investigations and what steps should be taken. Indeed, when the president was alleged to have taken a bribe from the contractor, the matter went to SHRAG, and we saw the outcome of the ruling of SHRAG. So if there are concerns like this and the military are saying they are investigating, we ought to know the outcome of such investigations and why, you know, the system is being abused to such an extent.
Mr. Maula, there are pictures showing the Mr. Ibrahim Mahama with military behind him.
Yes.
Some in front.
Yes.
He's enjoying.
If you talk about incompetence is when Nana Akufo-Addo, a senior lawyer at that, title a case, the president versus Chikata. That's incompetence at its highest.
Oh.
Incompetence is...
We're talking about this.
No. He knows where I'm coming from. That's why he's... Incompetence is when a whole government machinery goes into a hairdressing salon for a loan.
No,
and incompetence is when
we're talking about
a
Ibrahim
minister
Muhammad.
of finance signed an agreement in German language and cannot read. That's incompetence. He knows why I'm saying that. What was incompetence about this picture that you showed? He started with incompetence, tagging the president incompetence. That's why I replied in that fashion.
Okay.
Now, it's a health walk, which is open to the general public, isn't it? Now, groups of people can decide to join. We don't know whether there was an invitation thrown to the Ghana Armed Forces to be part of it, or it was Ibrahim who asked them to come. But when you look at the health walk, all groups of people, market women, I also have the picture here. There's one of them, and I'm just looking at it, there's one of them at the back. He is, this guy at the back with the glasses, he is the personal bodyguard of Ibrahim. I know, because I taught him in IPS, weekend school. Now...
He's not a soldier?
He's not a soldier.
But he's in military regalia?
No, I've seen...
Okay.
I've seen him here. My understanding is that he was with the armed forces.
Is it the one in the spectacle, the green spectacle?
I think he should be the one.
Yes.
The
same person. The same person.
But this time he removed the glass.
Yeah.
I'm told, that guy.
Yeah.
I'm told he was in the armed forces before he left.
Okay.
But he's his personal bodyguard.
No, but we're not talking about.
I'm saying it's a group of people.
Soldiers around him?
I'm telling you that it's about groups of people who have joined. It's not only. This is an amalgam of groups, and I'm saying that I don't know whether there was an official invitation to the armed forces to be part of it. I don't know, but investigations will reveal this, and I'm happy that this person we are talking about is the president's brother, and yet the military state institution is inviting him to come. It shows clearly that this is a president who will not stand in the way of state institutions.
Otherwise, he would have said they shouldn't.
There would have been some attempt to do that. There would have been some attempt to do that.
The NDC, have you been able to find out? Because he's wearing an NDC t-shirt.
Who is wearing a
Ibrahim.
Yes.
Mr. Ibrahim.
This is the guy.
Yes, yeah. Okay, I do. He's the same person here. I'm asking.
Yes.
Since this one looks like an NDC event.
I'm saying that, how did they dab it? A health walk.
Okay, yes, true.
So if you come there with your chief palace uniform, you'll be part of it. If you come there with your village team JC, you'll be part of it. Are they all wearing NDC t-shirts? There are people who are wearing other things.
But most of them NDC. It's an
yes.
NDC event. Okay, since it's an NDC event, do you know whether
this is not an NDC event? I'm not sure you are telling me that the hierarchy of NDC, the chairman, and then sanction it.
Okay, all right. Do you know whether the military had invitation to attend?
That's what I'm asking. These are the things that I agree with him that on this call, investigations, and I'm happy that the military is digging into it. I'm happy.
I'm not making headway with you, so I'll move on.
What? You want a certain answer from me? I won't give you the answer.
No.
You are preoccupied with a certain answer. You know me. I come here, I speak my mind. I don't care what you think.
Okay.
I won't give you the answer you want.
There's a court issue. It's about a disqualification brouhaha in which now we have Dr. Papa Kwesi Yindom squaring it off with the EC in court.
Yeah.
And you follow the issue, and I know that as lawyers you all do. It looks interesting.
It is.
Ayikwe is a lead counsel.
He's performing his legal role as a lawyer, even though he's a leading member of the NPP. You remember when Rawlings had to go to court over a book that was written? He went for Atachian, who did his job as a lawyer. So that's the beauty of Ghana. We have to develop this country as one people. And I am happy for my learned senior, Ayikwe Otu. You see, as for lawyers, anytime any matter goes to court, we are happy because we see it as development of the law. Because we don't know how the judgment will go. We don't know how the verdict will eventually turn out. And whether it turns out to confirm the decision of the EC or it overturns the decision of the EC, it becomes a precedent and it guides our future decisions as a nation. So whatever the outcome will be, we all wait to see. I have followed, and I think that we all wait patiently. Once the matter is in court, arguments have been made. You cannot predict the outcome until the judge rules. And when the judge comes out with his judgment, then we can criticize whether agreeing with the judgment or disagreeing with the judgment. For now, we can't go into the merits of the matter because it's in court, and I mean, it's due. Maybe what others don't understand is the jargons that were used. Some said, sit down, you are my junior. And then another said, I am not your junior. And
the
all
drama.
those. The drama. Those are part of, the acceptable exchanges at the bar where, if somebody is ahead of you, the lawyers, let me just take a minute to explain that. The lawyers, you are called to the bar annually. So it's like going to school. The one who entered the school before you, he has to go to class 2 before you come to class 1. So while some are in class 6, others are in class 1. So some are seniors than others. That is what we call seniority at the bar. So when Aikotu said, sit down, you are my junior, all he was saying is that I was called to the bar before you. It's nothing extraordinary. It's an acceptable exchange at the bar. And people should not misconstrue that to be a fight or arrogance. I mean, my learned senior, Amaliba, was called to the bar before me, so he's my senior, and I'll be his junior. But the response that was given to him by Tadiosori also was correct, because your juniors actually are those who follow you to the court and carry your books, in the sense of the word junior, because you are training them in your chambers. So in that strict interpretation of junior and senior, that is what it means. But of course, these are, like I've told you, is normal exchanges.
They're acceptable.
It's acceptable at the bar for these things to happen, and it happens all the time.
It looks like we'll have other candidates also go to join this very case, not necessarily this very case, but also have a difficulty with the EC or challenge.
Yeah, there are a number of suits that are coming.
Pending
that are coming. Some are yet to be filed. I know PNC, led by Dr. Raymond Atugba, may file. But to zero in on what happened yesterday, let me take what you may say is the drama. I, to be honest, frown upon those type of things, where references. You call somebody who is in court to earn a living. You are also there to earn a living. You have come with your clients. He has also come with his client. Then you, in an attempt, not in a joke, whilst on your feet, whilst performing your duty, in an attempt to undermine me in front of my clients, tell me that I'm a junior, I should sit down. I frown upon it. As we meet, we can, senior, junior, that kind of thing. But when we are both performing our duties, I am your learned friend. I'm not your junior. And I think that the response Thaddeus gave was very appropriate and apt. Because Ayuko did not make reference to him in that way as a joke. It was to spite him. It was. And to sometimes it can even disorganize you if you are not a strong-willed lawyer. You get the point. So I have never even gone to court and made reference to somebody as my junior. I won't do it, because we are all there to make a living. But like he said, if you are called to the bar, and sometimes even among year groups, you can still call your colleague your junior, because with the time of calling, normally it's in an alphabetical order. Your name. Those of us with A, I'm fortunate I have AA, I'm Alba Abraham. So definitely, whichever way you put me, I'll be first before maybe him.
Yeah.
You get the point. So even we joke, it's a joke. So after the joke, we do it. But no. I don't think that, even in the Supreme Court, when there were heated debates, I don't think that Chikata even called this guy his junior.
He said he thought, I think...
No, that one came out, but not that he didn't tell him that I taught you in school.
No. I mean, he outside the court.
Outside the court.
We've heard him in several interviews.
Yeah,
so he taught.
Yeah, he taught Addison. But because if both of you are there, You are now there on your own right, for God's sake. And if you call me your junior, do you feed me? You don't feed me. So you don't expect me to do the work of my client? So I think that was not.
You don't
pleasant.
think it was just said in jest?
It was not. No, it's not in jest. If we're in jest, I'm sure Thaddeus will not also have responded the way he responded. But they made very good arguments yesterday. Yesterday, two fine brains met, and for me,
were you in court yesterday?
I wasn't. I was in court on a different matter. I saw the crowd, but when I finished, I left. Following the news reportage, I think that they did very well in their submissions. I'm sure they took like more than 2 hours just making oral submissions. So I think we'll wait to see the outcome. Yeah. But this outcome is going to have an effect on the subsequent cases. It will have.
There's a case in court brought or taken to the court by one Dr. Mwakutufo.
Yes.
About those who will be doing the special voting on the 6th. He
wants them to be counted the day they vote.
And he's using some sections of CI 94.
Yeah. You
see, or 91.
On this, I read Gabi's response, and on this call, I want to agree with Gabi Ochirodako on this matter. What we should be interested in is how to secure those votes. How do we ensure that the opposition party and the ruling party will be satisfied with the security around those ballot papers? And for me, that is why that process is called special voting. It is not the ballot day on itself, because it's not even on the 7th. The real voting is on the 7th. But you see, the argument he's also putting out also makes some sense. He says that the law says that once voting is done, it must be counted. When you look at the Constitution, you look at the People Representation Act.
Is there any law that captures special voting?
There's a law, 91. CI 91 captures, but that one is a lesser law as compared to the Act and the Constitution. So I see, but the purpose, you see, sometimes the judges also take the purposive approach, the purpose for which that provision was put in place. It is to ensure that you don't have a bandwagon effect. If you count today and the security men and the journalists vote for one party, you can be sure that that party will now go out the remaining days and say that, you see, these people have been voted for us.
It's only 24 hours.
It's 24 hours.
Or 12 hours.
But you can still make,
no.
you have all these things.
Now they want to do it even 5 days before
earlier, So the bandwagon effect is what?
We want to do what?
5 days, the special
voting.
Yes.
We'll do it a week before, or let's say just close to less than a week.
Yeah, I think we vote on the 7th. They want to vote on the 2nd or 1st.
Oh, that. I see.
And you know, usually it used to be a day before, but now they want to, and that is where, you know, the suspicions will come. Yes,
is there suspicion?
Yes, there's suspicion.
Is there any suspicion?
Yes, I mean, of course, you know, the conspiracy theories all over when it comes to elections and manipulations. People think that, you know, how the security of the ballot after you have put your, they call it what, tag or special on it, and then it's kept at the police station. In fact, in the last election, because it was a day before, some of the agents slept at where the ballot boxes were, because people believed that those tags could still be changed. Because if I know where you printed your tag, and I can have a copy, original copy, and seal, I can seal it the way you did it, and then, or some tampering can be done on the box.
It can be done.
Under.
So this time too, I think you guys need to police the ballot.
But you can't police it for 1 week.
But can't you?
I mean, and the thing is kept in a police cell. I mean, in a cell or in a special place within the police station that you can't even have access to. So when you say you are even policing it, you are sleeping outside and anything can be happening inside, you know. So it's a whole lot of concerns that people have. But the legal, sometimes you may have a genuine concern, but it cannot be resolved within the law. And that is one particular scenario I think we are finding when it comes to this particular suit. That is not every issue that can be resolved within the law.
But we've never seen an election in which there's so many suits against the Electoral Commission.
But it's also the posturing of the new EC. Yes. Previously, there has been a lot of disagreements on electoral matters. But the previous EC had a more engagement approach than, well, I think so. That's my observation. Even though he also rushed to a point.
I don't know if you say Afarijan was very much engaged, because
That's the
Afarijan
same thing they said to Afarijan.
No.
These people,
fine, but Afarijan, when it comes to the stakeholders, when it comes to the political parties, he had a way of reassuring everybody, be calm, everything will be done. For instance, the no verification, no vote. That is what he made everybody to believe. But those who had concerns about it, he still allowed them to vote without it and justified it in court. You understand? So I am saying that maybe this one is better because she lets you know her mind and says, if you want to change my mind, go to court.
So you know what to go and do.
So you know what to go and do.
The problem for me is the kind of, you see, the MPP, if something doesn't go their way, they find faults with the individual. Afarijan, have we so soon forgotten the heaps of attack on Afarijan? Is it so long?
Why? But who has praised him? Who has praised him? Afarijan, I have just told you that even though
this woman, why? Comment that he's better than.
Yeah, I've heard so many things from them.
But of course, in terms of engagement, he's better than.
Somebody like me, if I hadn't stood on my grounds, I would have followed them to attack Afarijan for nothing. Now today, look at.
But who is praising Afarijan?
Now, the point is
who is praising him? This same man says no verification, no vote, and then he goes out to say you can vote without it. I'm questioning his credibility.
When she was first appointed, I made a statement. When you go to Google, you see, I said she's going to bring her law background to bear on the job. And at the time, I didn't even know that she was a positivist. A lawyer who is a positivist sees the law as it is. So, I'm seeing her implementing the law as she understands the law. And that will bring problems because there are some people who will not also agree with her. So after the suits, we should prepare for them.
He knows that when it comes to
this has been a very quiet conversation so far.
Positive interpretation of the law.
No, we meet so often in court, so I don't want us to miss
the last 3 weeks. Abraham Amaliba, it's not easy.
No,
Abraham Amaliba is
who are you fighting with?
Abraham Amaliba is a member of the NDC's legal team. He's a lecturer. You still lecture, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also he's a legal practitioner. Legal practitioner John KUMA is also here. He's a member of the MPP as well. I'm sure he has some dreams of becoming a lecturer as well, but all of them have dreams of becoming MPs. That one I know. We're taking a break. When we come back, IB will be here with entertainment.